To be honest, even though I am recording, I was going to do an intro. But I thought it might best be. So I'm Sam from Student It, and this is
Sam from CS3 Properties.
So Sam and Sam. So
Good
the whole
names.
thing, yeah, good names think alike. So the whole thing for today was we wanted to get together, and we came up with the idea that we wanted to showcase how we get from the process of getting a student accommodation or student housing, from buying it all the way to renting it out for students. So this is a video first fixing, and basically what's going to happen is I'm just going to ask other Sam a lot of questions on first fixing, so students can see it from their perspective, and if there's any property investors that are thinking about it, they can probably tag it on as well. So very basic question to start off, just because I'm not a property person as well. What is a first fix?
Good question. So the first fix is kind of where, I suppose before you get to the first fix, you've drawn up a floor plan and you've decided exactly, so you might have a large room that would benefit from putting an ensuite in, so you know that an ensuite's going there. But say if there was another bathroom that backed onto it, that would be great, because then you've kind of got the waste pipes already there, and the plumber can then tee off the hot and the cold feed, and then they can literally just tee off the hot and the cold, bring it through the wall, and there's your new ensuite. Whereas actually, if you put an ensuite there and your bathroom's sort of 3 or 4 rooms away, it makes things a lot more complicated. So the first fix is an electrician will go and they'll put chasers in the walls. So they either use a proper chaser machine, hopefully, because that creates a lot less dust, but they'll chase up a big channel in the wall, and they'll put their cables down, and then they'll actually chase like a double socket in the wall, and they'll put all the light switches in the rooms, and then they will put all the wires in, the light switches, the sockets, the lights, the smoke alarms. So we should be doing smoke alarms in every room, depending on, Norwich City Council is different to probably your council. Every council is slightly different. But in Norwich, we have to have a smoke alarm in any risk room. So the way I read that is that, any bedroom, especially, you straighten this with satellite, so that's a risk room. And then also, so first fix will also be sort of, new door linings and stuff like that, stud walls for the carpenters, shower trays. So yeah, basically you have a carpenter, plumber, and electrician, and that's all the stuff which is in the start of the job, which I suppose where the term first fix actually comes from. Yeah, so
it's essentially you've got to that stage where you've designed. Well, to get to that stage, I mean, you've bought it, you've designed, you've ripped it out, you've designed it,
done your floor plan.
Yeah, you've done your floor plan. Have you done the mood boards by that? I presume you have done the mood boards, and you know what it's going to look like at the end.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as when the builders are starting, we've kind of already done a mood board to decide what colours we're doing on the walls, what sort of bathrooms we're having, the type of theme we're going with. And then we'll do an actual design plan, which goes to the main building contractor, and that'll kind of have a picture of the old floor plan, a picture of the new floor plan, a 3D. I mean, we'll probably go a bit overboard on it, but we kind of then send a link to the building contractor. Probably never actually looked at the link at all, but he can he can go on it, and then he can sort of see the 3D model and see exactly what's going on, what walls. So we kind of do quite a lot of work for them. And actually, they'll quite often ring us and say, "Oh, what's this?" And I say, "Oh, what's in the design plan?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah." And I end up telling them anyway, so it's like, I mean, the main guy reads it, but quite often a lot of people that sort of work for them don't as such. But what we then tend to do is we actually print the design plan out on A3, and we leave it in the kitchen. So then, when the electrician does turn up, he knows that there's 4 sockets going on that wall, there's 2 going on that wall, and then when the carpenter turns up, he knows, there's the plan of the kitchen. He knows exactly where to put the ensuite. We put all the measurements on the walls for. There's a room we cut in half, and he knows the exact measurement of where to put that new wall up. It just saves a lot of time, like on site, right? Because it's a bit weird actually. We tend to do probably about 70% of the work before we've even got the keys. So we're quite a lot of people. You might see a picture of someone sort of holding keys up, and now the work starts. But from us, actually, the work's kind of like, I'd say 70% that side, and only a little bit that. When we've actually got the keys, the builders already know what they're doing. All the stuff's already ordered. Well, not ordered, but it's kind of like we know where we're ordering it from. The work is all allocated. You know, there's already an end. Before we've got the keys, there's already an end date for the project. So then we should really be hitting the ground running. We've kind of already designed it. We know what paint's going on the ceilings. We know what mirrors we've got. We know exactly where the sockets are, the light switches are, which way the doors are opening, how many rooms there's going to be. You know, we've already designed the whole thing in terms of like fire standards and the amenity standards. We know how many washing machines we're having, whether there's a tumble dryer. So yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like the 3D plans and stuff, it's maybe a little bit over spec, but then we find that if you don't put the detail in there, all of a sudden you've kind of got so many questions going on, and that might not necessarily be where you're, you know, if you're not doing much at the time when all these phone calls come for questions, then it's okay. But if you're really busy,
yeah,
and then you're getting loads of people ringing you, you know, it can then become quite stressful. So we do all the work early on.
Yes, yeah. And how long would you say a first fix phase? It's quite a mouthful, isn't it? First fix phase lasts for? From your experience, I mean, the first fix phase, I assume, can be as long or as short as it likes. You know, you could spread your work out, and it can be, you know, slower, or you can get it done quicker if you get more trades in.
Yeah, I've actually got it here. It should really be. I mean, we try and do them so they're not ridiculously rushed. We find that if there's so, you know, if you just sort of, if you push people too far, so we tend to try and do most projects on a 3-month timeline.
Okay.
But anything less than that is you kind of then you push people a bit too much. Then you've kind of got carpenters, plumbers and electricians, and wherever the electrician is, the plumber will need to be, or the carpenter will need to be, and then, you know, someone will get a bit annoyed. So actually it's better to almost slow down to speed up, just give people a realistic. So the first fix here should be, they've allowed sort of 2.5 weeks there for the first 2 weeks of the first fix.
Okay.
So that's the kind of the demolition and strip out as well. So that's kind of taking all the wallpaper out. There's a chimney breast we always remove, and there's a couple of steels that we have to put in. Some of them, the chimney breast, we take the chimney breast out of the bricks, and then we support that with steel. And there's another doorway we put in, so we remove the whole and all the bricks out and put the steel above the doorway. So all that should be done quite easily in 2 weeks, though.
Yeah. So it must take a few people, though, surely. Like, obviously, you've got your carpenter, plumber, electrician, labourers.
Yeah, so they tend to have it's a big sort of building contractor that we use, so they've kind of got their own electricians, carpenters, plumbers, and you tend to get the main plumber with sort of a, you know, a labourer to help him, and then the carpenter will also have a labourer. But it's not so much, because I mean, really, the first fix is kind of just chasing out. They're not actually connecting the cables; they're kind of just bringing them back from the distribution board to all the sockets. So that switches are. So all in all, probably about 3 weeks for the first fix and the strip out. And that's that's not really a push. It's quite a realistic sort of time frame.
Okay. And how much would you, if you had to put a cost on it, like an average cost, what would you say that sort of first fix? Because obviously you've got a second fix, design.
Quite a hard question, that.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking, like, how do we? Because some people might be interested in knowing, understanding how much. For you know, for those that obviously just interested in seeing what how you get from A to B in student accommodation, like you'll have your costs to buy refurb as a whole, but I don't think you'll split down this granular. You won't have a first fixed cost, a second fixed cost.
We kind of do it on a. I'm quite lucky. I mean, I always used to use, because I'm an electrical engineer by trade, so I know sort of at what point of a build that people should come in. So I was quite good at managing people, but it just takes, so yeah, we used to use separate trades. So I would organise the painter, you know, every single separate trade, but then it becomes quite stressful quite quickly, because if you didn't use tradesmen that knew each other, you would then kind of get, I don't know, if that builder didn't get on with that plumber, or it kind of then become quite stressful, and you kind of then have to manage them as well. So it's like micromanage the individual trade. So now we give all our designs and the plans to one main contractor, and then that main contractor, everything goes through him. So even if, like, some of the guys on site I happen to know, but then they ask me stuff and I say, oh, sorry, you have to ask Jake, because if not, what you find is that I might be telling them something, but Jake, who's the main building contractor, told them something else. So then the information can come. Not that it would be wrong or incorrect, but it can be, you know, oh well, he said that, and you said, oh, so it's just a lot easier. It's a lot more clear cut just to take everything through Jake.
Yeah, like one channel of communication.
Yeah, that's it. But yes, sorry, in terms of your question, we do stage payments. So like there'll be a payment for first fix. There'll be a payment for when the boiler's fitted. There'll be a payment when the kitchen's fitted. There'll be a payment when the plastering's done. So each, and this is all agreed. So that's what I recommend doing as well, is to actually have a terms and conditions signed and agreed, so you know. Say, like for example, it's a £50,000 refurb. You know at what stage payment you're paying. It's quite a clear-cut way of doing it. So we can have like a first, you know, steels and demolition cost, first fix cost, boiler cost, plastering cost, kitchen fitted cost. So it's all itemised out, so we know exactly what we're paying.
Yeah, and it's like hitting the targets, and once you hit the targets, you get paid.
Yeah, that's it. So it's quite hard to almost itemise. I mean, I could check and see what the first fix is, but it's kind of, I mean, the day rate in Norwich is sort of between about £150 and £200 at the moment, so it's quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
£200 a day is a hell of a lot.
Yeah, it adds up, doesn't it?
Especially when there's like 4 or 5 people on site.
But you say £200 a day and 5 people, that's £1,000 a day.
Yeah.
You know, and over a week, there's £5,000 a week. You know, that does add up, and I'm sure we will definitely cover that in terms of funding, how much it costs, overall cost. I
mean, yeah, maybe we could. I don't mind. I could maybe on the next one, I could actually put the stage payments down and show exactly what they're.
Yeah, to be honest, if people want, if you're happy to reveal it,
yeah, that's fine.
What we can do is obviously we can put it in notes. I'm sure we can add it somewhere on the website so then people can see it. We'll direct people to it. We're not fancy enough to be able to just bring it up on screen. We're not them kind of people, are we? We're just
one day.
Yeah, one day. We're still learning.
Or we could like draw it. We could just draw it out and it would be sprayed on the display. And
yeah.
All examples and stuff. That'd be the day.
Yeah, one day, you know, we'll be fully technological. But yeah, so for instance, first fix comes after a couple of weeks. Well, first fix lasts for a couple of weeks. Then what? Obviously, leading after that, we'll do another video on the second fix. But obviously, you get your second fix, which I don't know if you just want to quickly allude to it. What happens in your second phase?
Yeah, so how we like to do it is kind of you do your first fix, like your plumbing and your electrics and stuff, and then before the second fix starts, the plasterer will be done. So, you know, you don't want to be putting all your skirting boards on and your architraves, which go, you know, around your doors and stuff before the plasterer's there, because plasterers, however good they are and however clean they are, they're literally putting stuff on the ceilings and the wall. You know, they're going to create so much mess.
Yeah.
So first fix, then all the plastering's done, and then second fix. So skirting boards, when your kitchen goes in, that's when your doors start to go on. The electrician will actually start to put his nice fancy light switches and light fittings on.
Nice.
And that's kind of where the project actually is now. The plastering now should be today. Yeah, the plastering will be finished tomorrow.
Oh, decent. What would you say is the biggest problem of a first fix? What's your hardest challenge with the first fix?
Good question. I suppose initially, because it almost feels a bit not backwards to us, but because we've done so much work prior to getting the keys. When we've then got the keys, we kind of then not really. It feels like for us. But we're not, because we're not actually involved in the build. It's kind of the building contractor's job to then sort of crack on. So we're then sort of almost taking a bit of a back seat. So for me, it kind of feels like you're not then really doing much, but you don't need to be because someone else is in control of that.
Yeah, I assume you're still doing sort of site checkups and site visits.
So still do a sort of Monday morning site visit and go meet guys and make sure that they basically send us. We do like a big scope of works to begin with. So I will go in every room. So I'll go in the kitchen. So I'll write like new skirting boards, new architrave, plaster the whole room. But we do that through. So I put like 6 sockets, for example, 2 cooker points for the appliances. You'll go through every single room. And at the end of that, we've got a massive sort of scope of works, room by room. Now I give that to the builder. He then does his own scope of works in his own form, sends that back to me. I then check it, and then they basically will give me like a day by day, like a Gantt chart almost, of when things are finishing, so I can see it on here without the 11th of May. And yeah, we're a little bit, about a week behind, so it's not so bad, but the decorating should have really started the start of next week. I mean, it's not going to be far off, but so it was the plastering that the plasterers started a bit later than we wanted to, so the builders weren't actually behind, but the plasterers couldn't start when they were supposed to, so that kind of then pushed everything else back. You have to be a bit careful, because before you know it, the plasterer put stuff back, and then so the electrician was booked in for the start of the next week, but he can't because the plasterer's come, but then he's got another job, and then you quite easily go back, but then you have to be careful, because you've got the flooring booked in. The flooring's booked in for the 1st of June, which is 3 weeks away.
Yeah, 2 years.
Everything's got to be done by then.
Yes.
And we're now just going to be finished plastering in the next couple of days. So still, we've got to do all the second fix, all the painting, and it's that's one thing that it's the hardest thing for us, is that to get the flooring guys in, the building contractors got to be done, and then to get the furniture in. So the furniture we have made up for us, and it comes from a company pre-made. So we're not spending like days building flat pack furniture, but all they want to do is they've got a furniture plan, and they'll literally come in the room, look at your plan, and they'll be and they're gone within 2 hours. But everything's got to be done by then. You can't be working around them. So that date is set in stone, and the floor is set in stone. So there's quite a lot of stress to get the builders to finish on that date that they say they're going to finish.
I suppose the first fix is the thing that kicks it all off, isn't it?
Yeah. So the start, you're kind of like, I say that's probably the biggest challenge of the first fix. It's kind of thinking you're almost trying to be careful that you're not pushing people too much, so then they just rush. Then they rush and they panic and not doing as good of a job. But then you also kind of need to keep it in everyone's mind that you've only got 12 weeks. Don't spend 3 weeks doing. Let's try and push it now instead of panicking in like week 10.
Yeah, because retrofitting is not it's not a great thing to do, is it? It's difficult.
It's not fun. No, you're better off to break the back of it to begin with, and then have like a nice 8 weeks finish on time. Quite often you find it. I don't know. It is quite a. So I come from like a manufacturing background anyway, and I've sort of always found that if somebody's got 3 months to do the job, it's going to take 3 months. So it's quite a fine line. 2 months probably not quite enough time, but 10 weeks would probably be like the ideal sort of time. So yeah, it's just about managing expectations and timelines and keeping everyone happy, really.
No, that's sound. I think for a first fix video, I don't think that's too bad, mate. I think if you're happy, I don't know if there's any more points you might want to raise.
No, not for the first fix. I think that's we're probably overdone the first fix of anything.
It's just a little natter. It's not too much. I wouldn't say it's 30 minutes. Just I don't know what we're on, about 15-20 minutes, but it gives a quick
video. It'll be like 2 minutes.
Yeah, high speed through. It's all right. But what I'll do is I'll pause recording. I'll figure out the ending, and then we'll take it from there.